Welcome, everybody, to your Careers in Industrial Tech class. I'm Sergeant Behrens with the Minnesota Army National Guard, a recruiter and retention NCO. And I've been in the National Guard for the last 9 years. With me today, I have Sergeant First Class Nathan Pauley. We're here today to go over a little bit of trades, industrial tech, careers type classes with you. I'm going to let Sergeant Pauley tell you a little bit about his background in there, and then I'll get into mine.
So I have been in the National Guard for 15, 16 years. I initially started off with the intent of going to college. Didn't go, ended up going into the trades. So I did a lot of construction, a lot of the union work, laborers, forklifts, heavy operator. I worked at a nuclear plant, so I have a diverse background when it comes to the actual trades. I did get to go overseas for a little bit, spent some time over in Italy and Europe, which was a great time. So I had some very unique experiences with the National Guard as well as the civilian side working the trades.
Perfect. A little background on myself. I didn't go to college right away, and I also didn't join the Guard right out of high school. I always wanted to join the military, but it just wasn't in the cards for me. My dad said no when I was 17. My now wife, then girlfriend, told me that that wasn't going to happen when I was 18. So I went straight into concrete work with a non-union shop, actually working with my uncle doing concrete work, and I did that for about 2 years. Have worked landscaping, have worked a variety of jobs, and then at 22 years old is when I joined the Guard. I've been in for the last 9 years now, and I've been recruiting for the last 6. But today, we want to talk to you about our experience in the trades fields and why people look into doing that. There's a lot of talk right now about essential jobs and what is an essential job, and if you look out there, people with a skill working in the trades, they're still working. And there's a lot of different reasons people work in the trades. I'm going to let Sergeant Pauley talk a little bit about why people jump into this career field.
You look at why. I mean, what's the biggest draw to working construction? It's definitely the fact that there's money to be made, right? You like working with your hands. You like being outside. You want to interact with people. You like reading blueprints. There's other unique things you could experience. The money's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Benefits are great. The fact that you get to work with your hands, you actually get to build something, you accomplish something every single day is a very satisfactory feeling. You get trained a skill, right? So the union companies or the trades will actually help facilitate your training so you can go through, you get paid more, you get to invest it more in. It's not just, I do my 4-year college and then I'm done. Like, it's a continuous investment in your education and the company as well as the community.
Awesome. And I mean, that skill part, we were just talking about it, that, the honey-do list is getting long, and it's a skill that you can bring home. Yep. And actually start doing stuff yourself. I know my wife has got some sheetrocking for me to do this weekend. So, but really, when you talked about it, you said it yourself. The biggest reason people get into the trade is they see that dollar sign. Yep. I can remember in high school, I worked for Bridgman's Ice Cream, and I was making, at the best for Bridgman's Ice Cream, I made $11 an hour. And I started doing concrete work. I had no idea what I was doing. Uncle Doug can attest to that. But he hooked up his nephew, and I started at $16 an hour, and I thought I was rich. I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. Now, as a 31-year-old man with a family to support, I've learned that maybe $16 an hour isn't the most money in the world, but that's while I didn't know what I was doing. And as I worked my way through it, raises came along with it. When you're talking about the trades, you can do anything from, as a high schooler, going out and doing landscaping or labor work and making $16 to $20 an hour, to the trades are some of the highest paying non-degree holding fields out there. You have trades like plumbing and electrician here in the Twin Cities that are making anywhere from $80,000 to $100,000, depending on whether they're working non-union, with a union, and their level of experience. And that's one of the things we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about. There's 2 big areas that you can move into within the trades, and those areas being union shops and working in the local unions versus working non-union. I'm going to let Sergeant Pauley talk about the union side of it because he has experience there. He can talk the pros and maybe some of the cons of it. Mm-hmm. And then I'll represent the non-union side of things and be able to speak to that too, to see where you guys would want to take your career.
So when you think about union to non-union companies, just a little bit different, right? All the trades are pretty much the same. You still have electricians and plumbers and pipe fitters and boilermakers and heavy equipment operators for 49ers union, carpenters, you have laborers. All the fields are non-union, or union to non-union are going to have those jobs in it. It just depends on the level of training that you want to get. So when I initially started off as a union laborer, you're basically the guy. I worked masonry. We'd throw block around. We'd get concrete mortar mixed and grouts and rebar and set scaffolding. As I pressed through the next couple of years, I ended up running a forklift, and then kind of becoming a foreman on the crew that I was running. Worked with cranes. You work with rigging and all sorts of different things as a laborer and a 49er. But then we also got to work with the iron workers, where they actually go and hang the steel. You get to work with electricians and watch them, run all the conduits and whatever they have to do. Carpentry, you'd go through and we'd tend the carpenters, so you'd help get them the wood that they needed. But the different part for the union part was that we had structured training. So we'd go to classes. I'd go to work Monday to Friday. Then in the evening, I would go down to Lino Lakes and I would do a training program, whether it was, OSHA 10 or 40, or scaffold erection or scaffold, supervisor course. There are different courses that we were able to take to help solidify your portfolio so that the union could then sell you off to the employees so that you could always have jobs. Job placement was there. You didn't really have to go and solicit your own work. You could if you wanted to. I always did. I really didn't have a lot of time off. I was very fortunate in that regard. So I did get to find my own work. They placed me in a few. Union actually placed me with XL Energy, a great company. I got to work at the Monticello nuclear plant on and off for about 10, 12 years, working their outages. Fun work, kind of like The Simpsons. Yeah. Not really, but it is. It's great. I love working there. It's very safe. So you do get vacation. We had a vacation fund that we had. You do have seniority once you're with the company. You have different tiers of apprenticeship program that you go through, but it's a very structured learning development. One benefit I got was I was in the National Guard. So when I started my apprenticeship, they credited me work hours as well as training hours for the Army experience that I already had. So it was a huge benefit for me that instead of apprentice level 3, I could start off as apprentice level 1 and carry on, so I get to make more money and go and find work easier.
Awesome. On the non-union side of things, so Sergeant Pauly told you a lot about the benefits of working in a union and how that works, everything like that. The non-union side is a very different look. Hearing him talk about classes that he went and took and the union paying for some of that continuing education and things like that. Whereas I started on day one, and that was really my interview. Every landscaping job I've had, every construction job I've had, your interview, you don't show up and interview for it. You show up to the work site. Yep. And if you screw up that day, my uncle, he essentially said, hey, you're going to have 2 weeks to prove to me that I'm not wasting money on you. So all the training is on the job training. Depending on who you are, that can be a benefit or a hindrance. I'm a relatively confident person, but that was stepping into a world that I wasn't overly confident in. The other thing, he brings up OSHA, the safety measures that you have within the union. I talk to my dad a lot. He's a mechanic. And before this, he was talking about how when he was union and he worked at the airlines, they always had safety measures in place and all the proper PPE in place. And they were changing their masks for them every day. And it was all supplied. And I laughed because day one on the construction crew, I was handed the partner saw, the big concrete saw, and said, hey, go cut that 1/2-inch rebar. And I didn't think anything of it. There was no question in my head of, do I need earplugs in? And are all these sparks going to light me on fire or anything?
No, just keep it going.
Just get after it. And when you cut it wrong, Uncle Doug says, hey, go cut it again. Good thing rebar doesn't cost a lot of money. And you learn on the job. The other thing that's great about non-union stuff is it's flexible. The union, lots of times you're very specific. Sergeant Pauly told me about the fact that a laborer is the only one allowed to touch a broom. So if an electrician finished up his job and there was some stuff around, well, he's not certified on that tool, that broom. So somebody else has to come and clean that up because it's very specific. That laborer couldn't screw in a light bulb because that's electrical work.
Correct.
Whereas a non-union job, everybody did everything. The only thing stopping you is if you didn't have the skill to do it. I didn't go and finish concrete my first week doing a concrete job because we wouldn't have made a whole lot of money if I was the finisher at that point in time. The other thing that's flexible about it is it may be a little bit more recession proof. Now, we haven't had that issue in a long time. You haven't seen non-union guys not working. But through some of the different recessions, just the types of jobs you do non-union, me going and doing a small sidewalk, well, a big union company like Ryan isn't going to go do somebody's sidewalk.
No.
That's not going to happen. You need new buildings, large buildings, schools, things like that going up. To keep you working and keep you busy in a union. And the other thing that I really loved about it, that I enjoyed about it, was the fact that in a union there's a very set pay scale. And like Sergeant
Yep.
Pauly said, his experience in the Guard helped him in that right, that he had more hours already done. But even if he had walked in and he was the biggest rock star as an apprentice 3, he still has to put in a certain amount of hours before he can get beyond that and get paid more. Whereas in a non-union company, especially the smaller the company you're in, the closer you are to the guy writing the check, if he notices after the first 2-week period that you're beneficial to the company and you know more than what you're getting paid for, you might get a pay bump. And to be able to make what you're earning for your company is nice to see. To be told by your boss, hey, I can tell that you've got some skills and you're worth more than $16 an hour, so now I'm going to pay you $18 an hour. That's a beautiful thing when the paycheck comes. Now, the next thing that the two of us, or do you have something to add to that?
Yeah. I mean, so you go through and you look at non-union is definitely it's easier, right? You get to float around. You go through interview by just showing up on the job site and swinging a hammer and whatever. The union side, they could find you work. It was very structured. They had the resume of actually that you were qualified to do, right? So
Right.
you had your OSHA certificates, you had your can run a partner site, you have all these things. So every company knows exactly what they're hiring you for. Every company has an option to pay you more. Not necessarily going to, just because typically the projects that unions do are going to be the bigger projects, something that's bonded. Schools, you alluded to, stadiums.
Yeah.
Those are massive, massive projects.
Right.
Everyone just wants to work and get their 40 hours a week. Typically, union doesn't work over 40 hours. You consider a highway heavy. They work, 40 hours a week straight, and then they start their overtime. So it's a little bit different from building and trades to highway heavy to union or non-union. But it's the opportunity to keep yourself working is definitely there.
Mm-hmm.
Using union stuff. You just have to work hard like everything else and
Right.
keep after it.
Right. And you brought up a good point with overtime. And that's one I forgot to hit on. My dad just this morning talked to me while I was prepping for this class. And he said kind of one of the nice things about the union when he was at Northwest is because they had 3 shifts a day, if you worked beyond your 8 hours, that's when your overtime was starting right then and there. Whereas a non-union shop, if you get overtime pay, that's starting at 40 hours.
Yep.
You could work a 12-hour day, but that's 12 out of your 40, not 4 over your 8.
Yeah, that's very similar to the highway heavy, how they run it
Yes.
too.
Yep. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yep.
You have a little more structure with the union. You have a little more benefit to it when you start thinking about benefits outside of just pay.
Yep.
And that may give you a little more stability too. But why Sergeant Pauly, our 2 National Guard recruiter guys, besides the fact that we have a little experience in the trades, why are we talking to students about careers in the trades or out in the essential quote unquote job fields?
Well, let's be honest here. Everyone starts off with a great plan, and then you hit a little resistance, and then you change your plan. Mine happened to be my wife that I've been married to now for 20 years. So
Wives change plans?
it changed plans a little bit. That
Crazy.
girl changed my plans a little bit. So you might start off with the intent to go to school. I did. It didn't work out. Instead, I joined the National Guard because I needed to pay for college. I got back from all my training, ready to go to school. My wife and I decided we were going to move out and start our family instead. But for me, it was all about the union or the trades providing me an opportunity to immediately pay for my wife and kids and residents, whatever else.
Exactly.
I had the college benefits that I could have went to the University of Minnesota and had my tuition taken care of. But I chose to work because I like working with my hands. I discovered I liked being outside.
Mm-hmm.
It gave me a unique opportunity to, at 22 years old, I was able to run a job crew because I had all the leadership training and stuff from the Army that helped provide me.
That's awesome.
So both fields helped me very, they worked well together.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great experience tying them together. I just discovered I didn't want to go to school once I got away from school.
Yep. And it's part of the reason I love coming and talking both with careers classes, but also industrial tech or shop or whatever it's called in your school, because I'm a like-minded person. I was a very bright student. I still like to think that I'm kind of smart, but school wasn't for me. And lots of times when I'm speaking in these classes, maybe you guys are looking at school because that's what society pushes or that's what your parents want, or maybe you do have a plan for it, but this is a fallback. And the National Guard, a lot of people see this uniform and they think of people, jumping out of airplanes and kicking in doors and
Blowing stuff up.
Yeah, blowing stuff up.
Because that's fun.
Yeah, and it is fun. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
As my favorite memories in the Army are playing Army games, not doing what I was trained to do by the Army. And that's what I'm getting to is the National Guard has over 140 different jobs here in the state of Minnesota. And a lot of those are working with your hands. I joined the Guard as a welder and a machinist. I too had a young family, and I wanted a skill that I could support that family with. So the Guard has a ton of different jobs within the trades, whether that be trades that most people think of as carpentry, masonry, or a plumber or an electrician, to being a mechanic. We call them 91 series jobs if you're doing Army talk, but it's wheeled vehicle mechanics or tank mechanics or welding machinists or HVAC. And you can take that the whole way too. If you want to do something that you won't do in the civilian world, you can work on our helicopters through our aviation units.
And you get to fly around with them too.
You get to fly around with the helicopters. I was in an aviation unit. Believe it or not, they didn't use me as a welder a lot, so I got to be a fake, a victim. So our flight medics could work on me and stab me with IVs while the helicopter pilots were banking and turning. But that's just to say that if the trades are a career that you guys are looking into, the Guard is not life on a silver platter.
Nope.
It's not going to make you the greatest welder in the world. If I were to walk into a weld shop with my military training, I would still be an apprentice.
Yeah.
But it is a foundation. It's a stepping stone. It just opens doors for you.
Well, it's a great way of test driving it, right? You want to work in the military, but I kind of want to be an electrician, but I don't really know. Then try it with us once a month. We give you the training that you need, and then you go out and you can decide what you want to do. Right. You get a 2-year plan or 4-year plan, you're going to go and do those types of things. You already have that in motion as to what you want to do. This could be a fallback, or this could be something as a fun hobby that you just get to experience.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. So if you guys have any questions with anything we've talked about today, whether that be the Guard or you want to talk to somebody while we're locked up here, and you want to reach out to me, I'm going to have a Google Meets classroom going once each week, and all the information for that will be passed out to you by your teachers. And I ask that you just answer the survey that was provided to you with this class, get it back to your teachers, and I look forward to speaking with each one of you and answering your questions.
Thanks,
Sergeant Pauly.
Thank you.